G'day everyone, hope you're all doing well. I've got a little bit of different video this week. I'm just going to be talking about some trading fundamentals, what you should be looking for in a trade. I've got a couple of case studies with some popular trade-ins this week, so Beau Fermor and Erin Clark. So I'll go over them in a little bit. I'm actually thinking about sharing this video in a couple of NRL Fantasy Facebook groups, just because I think it's a really important one for all players, casuals, experienced players. So yeah, I might look to actually share this one. So I'll just go over my team quickly. Yeah, had a pretty good round last round, 1,067, round rank of 3,259. Obviously, Captain Cleary, which couldn't have worked out worse. Haas and May both. May turned up. Haas almost turned up, so left heaps of points on the board there. But back-to-back thousands. I got 1,017 the week before, I think, yeah. So I'll show you here. My rank's steadily increasing, which is good. I didn't make any trades last week, so still got 27 on the board. So I'm in a really good spot coming to the buy period and origin period. Started at 8,500, then slipped to 17,000, and then even worse to 19,000. Then had a really good round 4, went up to 11,619, down again, and then the last 3 weeks have all been steady increases, 12,000, 8,600, and then big round to get up in the top 5,000. It's so congested at the moment, so I wouldn't pay too much attention. But yeah, 27 trades, so in a really good spot. Would have been happy just to hold rank this week, not making any trades, but yeah, in a really good spot now, I think. So hopefully can keep climbing. But yeah, like I mentioned, I'm just going to be doing some trading fundamentals, really. So I just got this little baseline that I'll go over. I've sort of put them into 3 categories of what you should be looking out for when you trade. Green, the most fundamental, secondary, and tertiary. So other stuff you should be looking out for. But yeah, I'll get into a Beau Fermor and Erin Clark case study. I'll probably do the Erin Clark one first. A little spoilers there. Yeah, so the key metrics you're looking for when you're trading in a player, you want minimum of 150k price increase, you want minimum of 10 points value, or a long-term keeper, and ideally someone you'll be keeping for the whole season, or they're an end-of-season trade target that is a must-have towards the end of the season. So one of your top 17 players, one of the top 1 or 2, potentially 3, depending on the position, like the second or first or second best player in their position. So that's like in the mids, you want Terrell May, Payne Haas, and Isaiah Yeo. They would all classify as end-of-season targets. So yeah, you obviously aren't going to hit all 3 metrics when you're trading someone in, but you want to be hitting at least one of them. So you want to be, when you're making a trade, you want to identify why you're bringing them in. You don't want to just bring them in because they have a low break even. You want to hit at least one of these. So if they're going to make 150k realistically, barring injuries, suspension, stuff that's uncontrollable, like realistically, if they're going to make 150k, if they're 10 points undervalued, or they're an end-of-season target, as long as they hit at least one of those 3, I think it's totally justifiable to bring them in. The secondary metrics, buy round cover, that's not as important to start the season. It's not important at all. Obviously, these things will all change the order of their importance and which category they'll fall under. But towards this round, it's coming into round 9. Buy round cover is super important. So it's still a secondary metric, but yeah, it's creeping up into a primary one. But yeah, and then current break even. So a lot of people would argue that break even should be a primary metric, but yeah, I would absolutely disagree. And I'll use Purdue as a case study here. So he's got a 13 break even. He had a minus 13 last week, I believe. And I still didn't recommend people brought him in, even with a minus 13 break even. So you can see he's got a 13 break even. We'll give him a 40-point average to be generous. He's probably going to hit around there, 35 to 45 each week, most weeks, barring injury or a try or something, a couple of tries or something like that. But yeah, so he hits 40 this week. He makes 30k. That's awesome. So he made 30k out of the 150. Then he hits another 40. That's great. That's great for a center where he's priced at. He makes another 15k. So yeah, you made 45k of value there, and then his break even's 42, which is higher than where he's priced at now, and higher than what his expected projection would be. And then you can see he's got a 49 break even. So he's going to start losing money. So yeah, you made your 45k. Woohoo! It's not anywhere close to 150k. So even though he has a 13 break even and he had a minus 13 last week and he made 60k, even if you add on that 60k, he's made 60k plus 45. So that's 105k, and then he's starting to lose value again, which is he's not an end of season keeper. He's not 10 points undervalued. Last round he was valued at 35 points. So I'll check what he's at now. If it wants me to, yeah, there we go. Let's have a look. Yeah, so he's priced at 39 now. So if you're bringing him in this week, he needs to be making 150k or priced at 49 or an end of season target, and he's just none of those things. And that was the same when he was priced at 35 last week. I didn't see any avenue to making 150k, and even with a 45, he's still not going to make that unless he pumps out a couple of 50, 55s. So yeah, there's just no reason to bring someone in like him last week. And yeah, you be using Rugby League Fantasy Pro for your break evens as well. It obviously is a cost. I think it's $30 a year, but it's super worth the money. You do have your free features like footy statistics, which is awesome in its own right. But they have the break evens a little bit different, and yeah, consistently Rugby League Pro is the most accurate. So that's what I use. Obviously, if you haven't paid, you can't use them. But yeah, if you get access to both, making sure you're using Rugby League Pro. Yeah, even if you give him a 50-point average, which is just super unrealistic, he's still going to have that break even back to 41 in a couple of weeks anyway. So yeah, you need to be super lucky if you're going to make that 150k. And yeah, I didn't recommend people brought him in last week, even with a -13 break even. And yeah, even with a 45, it looks like that will hold true. That would be good advice. So yeah, just a little one because he was popular last week. So don't be fooled by the current break even. Obviously, break even is super important. But yeah, just making sure you're looking at the next couple of weeks, what you expect them to average. Yeah, and don't just be so stuck on what their current break even is this round. And then for your tertiary metrics, so the third most important, fills a positional void. So like something like a hooker this year, there's not many options at all. Let's filter this by hookers. Yeah, like you got your Wade Egan's, Connor Watson's, and Mamo. They're the only three averaging 50 or above. It was Robson. But yeah, there's really no standouts like there have been in previous years. So, and I'm only running Mamo, so I only have one hooker at the moment. I've had that since I traded Watson in round 4, I believe. So yeah, if you were bringing like an Erin Clark this week because he plays hooker, and he would be your only other hooker, then it would make sense. So that's definitely an aspect of why you would make that trade, but it shouldn't be at the forefront of your decision because otherwise you could just trade in any hooker. Like you could get, I don't know, Phoenix Crossland this week, who doesn't hit any of these 3 targets, or I don't know if he hits these 2. He's not an option, obviously. Yeah, like you can just get anyone if you're just looking for a positional void. So yeah, just don't focus too much on that. If the person you're trading in fills one of these and then they are filling a positional void, that's perfect. But yeah, just don't make that the key reason why you're bringing them in. And then dual position status, I think early season it's super important. It's not super important. It is important, but it's not the be all or end all. But at this point of the season, coming into bye rounds, it is important. But yeah, I think it's overstated the importance of it. I think people will use that as a reason to trade someone in when it's just an added benefit if they do have it. Unless you are super low in 2 positions, like if you need a winger, fullback, center, and you don't have any cover, then yeah, it's awesome. But apart from that, like generally speaking, you're going to have cover in a few positions, even with your 21-man benches, squads. So yeah, it's a tertiary metric for mine. And if you want to argue where these should be, that's totally fair enough. But yeah, in my eyes, these 2 are certainly tertiary. And then I've also listed underpriced fringe end of season targets here. So that would be someone like a Jerome Hughes this week. If he does fulfill another purpose as well as just being underpriced fringe keeper, then yeah, that's when I'd bring him in. Someone like Hughes is probably a back end keeper. He's probably going to be in the top 3 to 4 halves, so he's probably a good 17th, 18th man. But someone like him is super underpriced. He averaged 60 last year, even though a lot of that was in tries and stuff, but he's priced at 42 now. If you deemed him as a fringe end of season player, not like a fully set must-have, then yeah, it's a decent reason to bring him in, but it shouldn't be the forefront of your mind. But if he if you think he's gonna if you think his 10 points undervalued, then that would be another reason to bring him in as well. They sort of align there, but yeah, they do have a little bit of a differentiation. Then other considerations, so these are just outside of those usual metrics. Their current versus future role, and we'll get into this with Erin Clark, so I won't dive too much into it, but it's what you think their role is currently, or what you know based on the last couple of weeks, or if there's injury suspensions and stuff like that, versus what you think their future role will be. If you're going to keep the player for 5, 10, 15 weeks, you need to have a realistic idea of what their future role will be, and if that's going to change with players coming in, stuff like that. So it's just something to consider. And then NRL teams, injuries, suspensions, sort of falls under the same bracket, really. But yeah, where is it? I think I had it open here. Again, Rugby League Fantasy Pro has data for all the injury suspensions. It updates almost as soon as they happen, I think. I don't know if it's on an algorithm or something. But yeah, you can see all the teams and what injuries they have. So let's say the Dragons, for instance, if you're looking to bring in a Toby Couchman or a Dylan Egan or something, you look at what other forwards are coming back, like a Tom Eisenhuth, Hame Sele, stuff like that, Hamish Stewart. It's like things like that, and that will define if their role's going to change in the future, because you don't want to fall for a trap of someone playing 50 minutes off the bench this week, and then who's obviously not going to continue playing 50 minutes if they're fully healthy. So yeah, it's just something to keep an eye on, but I think most people should know that by now. Will they play Origin or not? Not important, really, at the start of the season, but coming into round 9, I think it's super important. Just looking up predicted Origin teams, there's a lot of fringe guys this year, and there always is, so like 50-50 guys, but yeah, obviously your Yo's, Clearys, Haas's, they're going to play Origin. So there's no, like, if you're looking to bring them in round 10, round 11, knowing they're about to miss heaps of weeks, it should be a massive consideration for you. This should be an obvious one, but a lot of people fall into the trap, myself included sometimes. You're trading for their future average in your team. You don't get any of their previous points. So it goes without saying, obviously, but you want to look at what they're going to average in the future, as opposed to what they have averaged so far. Like Beau Fermor just scored 109. He's going to be a trade target for heaps of people this week, and he does have valid reasons. But just remember, you're not going to get his 109 points. He's already got that. It's already built into his current average. So yeah, just being mindful of that. Let's say he averages 55 from now on, and he averaged 45 prior. That's going to be a season average of 50, but you've got a 55 average when he's been in your team. So yeah, there was definitely value there, just as an example. And then any points/monetary increase of your trade-in player is offset by the player you're trading out. So say you went Sandon Smith to Hugo Savala last week. Sandon Smith obviously pumped out a 75, which wasn't realistic coming into the round. You probably had him anywhere from like 30 to 40, but he still did have 50k to make or so, realistically, around if he was to score 35, 40s every week. So that was a realistic estimation of what he would increase. He obviously increased 60k or whatever this round. So if Hugo Savala, if you predicted him to make 250k, just remember, if you think Sandon Smith's going to make 50k and you're trading him out for a Hugo Savala who's going to make 250k, you're actually making 200k on that trade, essentially, because you have to offset the player you're trading out. So just one that often people forget. So like when you're trying to hit these targets, especially the price increase, it's just offset by who you're trading out. So now I'll get into the case study. So I've got the exact same considerations, metrics, and everything here, but it's specific to Erin Clark here. So does he or does he not hit these metrics, and just some other considerations about him. So will he make at least 150k? I don't think so. I know he won't, unless he's pumping out 60s, 70s, like stuff like that. He's a really interesting one. So he averages 1 point per minute, which makes it super easy to define how he's going to score. The hard part is guesstimating how many minutes he's going to play. So he's played 60 and 64 in the last 2 rounds. But if you head back to here, Rugby League Fantasy Pro, you can see that James Fisher-Harris is out, and he's out to round 11, round 13. So is he going to keep playing 60 minutes? Let's filter by teammate. We'll look at James Fisher-Harris. So with Fisher-Harris, he played 45 minutes, 45.2 for 45.2 fantasy points, bang on 1 point per minute. And then without, he's averaged 62 minutes for 67 fantasy points, so above a point per minute, but give or take, he'll average a point a minute. So yeah, is he going to make 150k? I highly doubt it. Even with 55s every round, he's going to increase by 100k and then float about that price. And yeah, that's assuming he plays 55 minutes, which is assuming he plays that when James Fisher-Harris comes back. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's super dependent on what you think his role will be moving forward. That jumps into the current versus future role. Is he minimum 10 points of value? He's priced at 48. Do you think he's going to average 58 plus? And yeah, that means he has to play 58 minutes essentially every round, which is what he's done the last 2 rounds. Last season, only played 1 game above 50 minutes. And obviously that was for the Titans and not the Warriors. And he was coming off the bench a lot of the time. But he doesn't have too much data playing above 50 minutes. Yeah, it looks like on surface value he does, but that's since 2020, and a lot of that was at hooker. So if you filter by lock, this is the only data you have. And yeah, he's been awesome, 57 minutes, 58 points. But there's just limited data to suggest he's going to play 50 plus minutes, where if you specify at lock under 50 minutes, it's give or take the same. So yeah, his role is just super unclear. And that's something you've got to decide for yourself if you're going to bring him in. But yeah, if you're going to make at least 10 points of value, he has to be priced, that he has to average 58 minutes essentially. So yeah, that's totally up to you to decide. I don't think so, so I've crossed him there as well. Is he a long-term keeper? Ideally, end of season target. We mentioned before, hookers, there's not too many this year, which makes it tricky and makes Erin Clark more appealing, certainly. He probably has to average 52, 53 to be an end of season target, or a long-term keeper, I guess, in that hooker position, given the other hookers available. And that's up to you to decide if you think he's going to be playing 50 plus minutes towards the back end of the season. When you want to if you're buying him, you want to keep him for the season. So yeah, he's obviously going to play 60. Most likely going to play 60 minutes the next couple of weeks until James Fisher-Harris is back. But will that continue towards the end of the season? You're buying him for a long-term hold, so you just got to be very mindful of that. I put a question mark essentially. I don't know what his role is going to be, but he hasn't filled the other 2 criteria, and he's a maybe here. So that immediately rules him out for me personally. A lot of people, if you think he's going to play 55 minutes, then yeah, I'd be giving him ticks. But I just personally don't see that as his role. Does he have buy round cover? He plays round 12, which is the most important one when you're identifying trades at the moment, but he has a buy in 15 and 18. And again, you're buying Erin Clark for the season, so that is a key consideration in this instance. So yeah, great, plays 12, misses 15 and 18. So yeah, it's questionable buy round cover, and it shouldn't be a reason you're purchasing him. And then current break even, yeah, he's got a 17 break even. We mentioned not to fall into that trap too much, but he's still got a bit of money. If he averages 55, which he probably will in the next couple of weeks at least, he's got a 28 break even and then 41. But again, that's going to make 100k. So yeah, he's not going to hit that 150k mark unless he goes berserk, which is potential. Yeah, it's potential, but not realistic in my mind. And you have to think realistically, not optimistically, pessimistically. Just think realistically what you think they're going to score. Does he fill a positional void? Absolutely. He's a hooker, which is just terrible this year. So yeah, he certainly fills that tertiary metric. He has dual position, hooker and mid, I think. Yeah, hooker and mid. So yeah, that's a great one to have with that hooker. And is he an underpriced fringe end of season target? So yeah, he's fringe for me. Absolutely. He'll average close to 50, I'd say. His minutes probably 55 to 50 long term. And he's been awesome. So yeah, he certainly is a fringe end of season target in that hooker position. So yeah, he fills out all these tertiary metrics, decent in the secondary metrics, but for me, the most important 3 he doesn't, and that's a no from me for this week. Other considerations, current versus future role. He's likely to play 60 minutes until James Fisher-Harris is back, and that's only in 2 to 4 rounds, and usually players come back on the early side of that. So I will say round 12. So but again, you're trading him in for the season, not for the short term. So NRL teams, injury suspensions, James Fisher-Harris, that's about the only one. He won't play Origin, no. I don't think he's eligible. Certainly not eligible. You're trading for the future average, not the previous week. So he obviously scored 81 points last week, which you're not getting. And any points monetary increase is offset by the player you're trading out. So who are you trading out for him? Do they still have money, or are they underpriced? So if you're trading that for a Sam Smith out for him or something like that, he's obviously going to make some money. So you've got to offset that against how much money you think they're going to increase, or how many points Sanders Smith is undervalued. If he's 5 points undervalued, then you've got to take that off. If Erin Clark's also 5 points undervalued, it's nil. So, for me, he's not a trade-in. He is the most popular trade-in so far this week, and I think that will continue to climb. And I don't think it's reactionary to the 81. He has been solid the last couple of weeks. Let's look. I think he scored a 60, 55. 62, 53. So I don't think it's super reactionary to the 81. Obviously that helps, but there is definitely a merit to trading him in. But for me, he doesn't fill any of these key criteria, so he's just a no-go for me. And then we'll move on to Beau Fermor. Now this one is more appealing to me. Obviously I've had him for the last couple of weeks, but as a trade target for the masses, I think he has more appeal. So will he make 150k? No, he will not. Let's grab him up here as well. So he's got that 20 break even. We'll give him. He averages 50 generally. So he's got close to 100k in him, about 80k or so. So no, he won't make 150k. So no, he doesn't hit that criteria. Price at 49, averaging 55, but obviously he got 109. Last year he averaged 50. He was better in the second row, but he is at risk of playing in the centres. Also averaged the exact same in the second row, so he won't make 150k and is not 10 points undervalued. But he is an ideal end-of-season target. He's one of the 2 best centres to own, maybe top 3. You've got Dylan Lucas, who's also on the edge, same as Beau Fermor, does have that risk of playing centres, but predominantly playing on the edge, which is awesome. And then you've got Herbie Farnworth, who's a little bit, not riskier, he's just a centre playing centres, but he is really consistent for a centre, unbelievably so actually. But he's in the top 3 end of season targets, so I don't see any issues or debating that. He certainly fills that metric, and ideally you want them to fulfill 2 of those metrics. But generally, if you're going to fill 2, it's going to be 0.1 and 2 because they sort of go hand in hand. But if you're trading in a long-term keeper end of season target, as long as they're not overvalued, if they're slightly undervalued or accurately valued, I think that's totally fine, as long as there's not other options out there that it's going to fulfill more. Buy round cover. He plays round 15, buys in round 12 and 18, so much the same as Erin Clark. Obviously that buy is a little bit, he's got that buy in round 12, so his favourable buy comes a little bit later, so you could always wait till round 14 or after the round 12 buy to purchase him. But much the same as Erin Clark, really. Current break even, we talked about, he's got 18 break even, so much like Erin Clark, he fulfills that. Exact same in the secondary metrics there. For the tertiary ones, does he fill a positional void? Yeah, absolutely. Not as important as a hooker like Erin Clark, but he's got that playing in the centres as an edge is always super important, and one of the top 3 there. Dual position status here, he's got edge and centre. Edge is a little bit of a funny one this year. It's a little bit harder to fill as well than like something like a mid is. So that dual position status is really important in my eyes. Again, not as important as Erin Clark's, but in his own right, it's super important. Underpriced fringe end of season target. No, he's priced at 49. He's currently averaging 55, but I would assume he's going to average 50 from here on out, realistically, based on his long-term data in the current role. So current versus future role, he's an 80-minute edge, moves to centre with any backline injuries. So that could be mid-game or before the game as well. I unfortunately brought him in right before right before he moved to centre twice, got a 20 and 30, and usually is decent at centre. Like he averaged 50 last year in the centres, but just had two stinkers in a row. The Titans have struggled. He even got that late try save with like 5 minutes to go, so he was looking at like a 13, 14, but got bailed out a little bit. But then, yeah, massive bailout with 109 this week. So yeah, but he's always going to be a bigger risk, even bigger risk than Dylan Lucas to move to the centres at any time. So that's a consideration when purchasing him, which means there's usually not a massive rush to get him in. He'll probably always be priced about where he is. NRL teams, injury suspensions, yeah, there's none super relevant at the moment. You got half, backline, half, and edge. Edge is seemingly important. David Fafita's back now, obviously, but he actually got cut this week as well. So he was meant to be out for a month, came back last week off the bench, and now he's just cut. So I think Desi's had enough. I don't think he's 100%, but he played 59 minutes or so last week. He's not really it. That doesn't really affect his role. He's going to play 80 minutes every week on the edge, unless he's filling in at centre, and he filled in for Jojo Fafita, who got injured in the late updates, both those rounds when he had to play centre. So yeah, David Fafita seemingly is important, but he actually has no impact on both Fermor's minutes. He's going to play 80 every week if he's in the back row or not. Will he play Origin? Potentially. He's a smoky. It is a consideration if you're purchasing him this week. I don't think he'll play Origin. He's not in the predicted team list, but there's like 3 or 4 guys who could fill that role, so it's potential, but I'd lean towards no. You're trading for their future average, not their previous points. Yeah, he obviously got 109 points, which is why he's super popular this week. I think more so than why Erin Clark is popular with his 81. People chasing those points, and you're not going to get him, but yeah, he'll average 50 from now on. And any points, yeah, again, whoever you're trading him out for, like, again, if you're trading him out for a Sandon Smith, just offset that 50k, 5 points of value against it. So yeah, I don't think there's any rush for Beau Fermor, but he does have merit more so than Erin Clark in my eyes. Yeah, because he fills that primary metric, and then a couple of the other ones, much like Erin Clark. So yeah, they were the 2 case studies. I'll show you my team analyzer, my team trade history, just to see if I had stuck to those principles or not. I've only used 9 trades, so a lot less than a lot of other people. So I've been pretty good there, and I've got a decent rank even with it. So yeah, I won't really look at who I traded out. Jamal Fogarty is annoying. Before you jump on me, I'll show you what my team looked like. And in hindsight, there's a few other guys you could have traded. Ideally, I would have traded Jack Cole, Tom Duffy, but they both look like they were going to make 150k, 10 points underpriced. So yeah, Jamal Fogarty was the only one I could have traded for Jamie Humphries in my eyes. And it's actually why I got Jamie Humphries around too late, because I had the trade set in stone after round 1 and just couldn't do it. Last minute backed out, just because obviously it's hard to trade a keeper out, and it goes against my principles. But yeah, Jamie Humphries was one that he was a no-brainer get, so you had to do it one way or another. And if that was Jamal Fogarty coming out, then so be it. So I had to pull the trigger in the end. Then my other ones, Payne Haas. Yep, he was an end-of-season keeper. And Jamie Humphries, he was obviously going to make 150k. He was obviously going to average 10 points above where he was priced at. And he was a potential fringe keeper end-of-season, the way he was going, starting with 370 pluses. Payne Haas, yeah, easy one. He was dominating. He was overpriced, so a bit iffy there, and I'll get into this. I've lost money on him and stuff like that. But yeah, he was an absolute must-have captain option. So yeah, you had to get him in one way or another that week, and everyone had to bite the bullet there, and Connor Watson was out. So yeah, it made sense to bring him in. Kartonga, yeah, again, he was going to make 150k, 10 plus points. He filled a void, and I had weak centers. So yeah, he was an edge playing in the center, playing 80 minutes. Yeah, he made a lot of sense. Beau Fermor, again, it was just before his 20, unfortunately. But yeah, he was an end-of-season must-have for me, so just get him in any way I could. And Tommy Gilbert wasn't looking good. I think he was suspended for a week. And yeah, Sandon Smith sold too early, but I knew he had 50k to make in him, so I offset against that against what I thought Dylan Egan would make, and I thought he'd make at least 200k, so it made sense for me there. Isaiah Yeo, again, it was probably my only chance to get him until it was too close to the Origin period. So bit the bullet there. He looked a bit underpriced, and yeah, end of season target for sure. He might be one I trade out in the Origin period, but yeah, round 6, it's plenty of time until Origin, so it made a lot of sense for me there. Hugo Savala, I bought him in with a 70 break even, just because I knew that going off that wasn't an accurate break even, and even I did the projections. If he was going to score 30s, he was going to start making money straight away. But he also filled a 230k enabler for me to allow me to do some other trades and stuff like that. And I thought it probably wasn't likely, but there was a chance he would make 150k, average 10 plus points. But it was more his price point that was appealing at 230k, and I knew it was a false break even. I didn't fall for the trap of having a 70 break even, so I got him before anyone else did, and it worked out pretty well. I managed to loop him for a good, decent score, I think. And yeah, obviously rewarded with a 57 this week, which helped. But everyone got him this week anyway. Then Reece Walsh. So yeah, I thought he was 10 points undervalued. Did not work out. I traded Jaden Campbell for him because Jaden Campbell was injured for 5 weeks. Traded him for Reece Walsh, who got injured after 2 minutes. Still pumped out 80 minutes, which was good to help his score to 26. But yeah, he was pretty clear. I think he was priced at 37 or maybe even 36, and even just based off last year, he averaged 50. That was with 2.6 points in goals. So yeah, realistically, he was going to average 47 or so, and yeah, he was priced at 36, so he could make 10k. I didn't think he'd actually play Origin, just based on his form, but if his form got better, he would have played Origin. So yeah, it was a win-win sort of thing. Yeah, 10 points undervalued, potential to make 150k. Obviously, he's lost what's that? How much money has he lost this year? What did he start at? 700. So he'd lost 230k. So there was an easy avenue to see why he'd make 150k, and a fringe keeper for the end of the season. Not a must-have by any means, but yeah, a fringe one. So there's heaps of merit in trading him in. Nico Hines, yeah, back end of the season keeper, probably the second best, and looked a bit underpriced based on what he's performed the last couple of years. Obviously, his kick meters are down, so I didn't think he was going to average 60, 65, but there was a realistic avenue to averaging 55 again. And yeah, it's been decent for me, 56 and then a 61. So yeah, he won't play Origin either, so those buys help. So yeah, I've stuck to my principles in all of those trades. And yeah, I've done decently so far. Obviously, like I mentioned, I started the year terrible and then have started to climb even with using minimal trades, just because my trades have been decently valued. Then another one, it's a really good part of footy statistics. It's just called under the team analyzer tab, so that has all of this data that I've been showing you. You can also look at what your player averages in your team versus what they've averaged for the season. So that goes on to that point where I said you're not going to get the players last week's score, like 109 for Beau Fermor. So it really shows you if it was a worthwhile trade. So yeah, obviously I've got a few reds here, like Sandon Smith, because I traded him a bit too early, knowing he'd make 50k or so, and then he exceeded expectations, but realistically, that's what I thought he'd make. Jamie Humphries averaged 43 in my team. I got him a week later, and then he obviously got injured after 5 minutes in another game, so he pumped out a couple of 70s. He would have averaged that, so that's fine. Reece Walsh obviously injured after the first minute. Payne Haas was one that was a little bit of a mistake. Not a mistake, obviously. He's pumped out huge scores, but yeah, he was averaged 76 for the season, only 67 in my team. But yeah, he was just a must-have. And you're not going to complain with a 67 average anyway. I've only lost 24k on him, so I purchased him around where I should have at the price point. Yeah, you can also see unrealized profit. So what you have made on them if you were to trade them out now. So like a Dylan Egan, who I traded in, I've already made 261k on him. So if I traded him out this week, I would have made 261k. And then, yeah, you realize profit, what you actually made on your trade. So obviously, it's harder to make 150k when you start with them for the season. Like Sandon Smith, 130k, Alex Safar, Tommy Gilbert, 65k. So yeah, you can see what. And like that Jamie Humphries trade, it got me 146k, so just shy of what I was hoping for with 150k. But yeah, like obviously you can't help someone getting injured after 2 minutes. So yeah, a lot of merit for all my trades. So yeah, that sums it up. I think I'll be using one trade this week. Hopefully that all made sense to you, by the way. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. I know I've rambled on for 35 minutes. This was meant to be like a 15-minute video, but I think it's an important one for everyone. A lot of people know a lot of that information. Some of you don't. And hopefully some bits and pieces were important to you. But yeah, heading into round 9, got 27 trades, had 2 monster weeks in a row. I have to get rid of Reece Walsh this week or the next week. I was looking at Jaden Brayley as a potential hooker, but starting off the bench, unless he's named in an hour before kickoffs, then I probably won't be looking at him. The Knights do play before the Broncos, so yeah, that helps. But yeah, Reece Walsh has to go for someone. I'll have another video out on that of what potential trade targets and what my potential trade targets are this week. But yeah, let us know what you thought in the comments, guys. I'll see you later.